Hi, it's Miss House. This is the continuation of section 1.3, starting with number 14. We were talking about piecewise defined functions, and those are functions that are divided into pieces of the domain, that is, of the x value. So you can see from this first part of the problem that the first piece is true only where x is less than 3. And the second piece is true where x is greater than 3 or equal to 3. Now, we've not talked about an x squared function yet. We have this one. This is a line. Y equals, or f of x equals 5x minus 10. That's a line with a slope of 5 and a y-intercept of negative 10. Anytime you have an x to the first power, or just a plain x, that's going to be a line. Every single function that has just a single x to the 1 is a line. So this is a line, okay? So we're going to be looking for a line on the right side of 3. Now, this is going to be a curve. So let me show you using Desmos what this parabola looks like. All right, so you can't see the function because of my picture. So let me take that off. Okay, so we have y equals 1/2 x to the second. Now, we will learn how to graph these, but I want you just right now to know that when you have y to the first and x to the second, and by the way, watch what happens if I replace that y with f of x. It's the same thing. Y and f of x are interchangeable. So here we have a U shape, and that U-shaped part is on the left of 3. Okay, so remember, a U-shaped part on the left of 3, a line from 3 to the right. Okay, so I'll look at this first graph. The U shape is supposed to be, again, look, U shape to the left of 3. Well, this U shape is to the right of negative 3. So that's not it. This U shape is upside down. I will show you how that happens, but it didn't happen here. We just saw the graph. It's a U shape up. Can't be B. On this one, let's see. A U shape to the left of 3. Now look, this is in 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 2, 3 would be right here. A U shape to the left of 3. And look, that's an open circle, not including 3. A U shape to the left of 3, not including 3. Okay, now that looks right. So far, this looks good. We've got to look at the other part, though. This is a line to the right of 3. So I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to look. Well, look, here's 3, and then there's a line. Now, we could find some points on this line for sure, okay? But what we're going to do right now, until we know more about how to graph lines and parabolas, is we're just going to use our process of elimination. We know this is a U shape, okay? We know this is a line, and the changeover happens at 3, not included on the left side, included on the right side of 3. So look, the changeover happens at 3, curve U shape on the left, line on the right. Can't be D because D is upside down. And again, we'll talk more about upside down graphs when we get to 1.6. So the correct answer for this one is C. Now, we could plot points, and in fact, we will plot points for some of these, but later on after we've talked about the parabola in a little more detail. Now it says, how do we find the range? Okay, we've got to go back and look at our graph, and that's how we're going to find it. The range is every y value that gets touched. That's this axis. Okay. Let's take this graph over into Paint where I can draw on it. Okay. The range is every y value that gets touched. All right, so I'm going to just shade all this. Look. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that one. In fact, let me just do the ones right by the axis. Hold on one second. Let me change this a little bit. All right, so wherever the graph exists, where does it touch the y? There, 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 there. So for every value on this y-axis, starting here, there is a value on both sides, except for right here. But over here, there's a value over here. So even though there's a missing dot right here, it's not missing over here. So that y is also included. So look, that's from 0 to infinity. Okay, 0 to infinity because it's from here up. Now, this is not increasing and decreasing, so we say the range has no isolated values. It can be described by bracket 0 to infinity because it starts at the origin and moves up forever. Okay, number 15 is a three-piece function. We have a fixed value of 0 for every x is less than -5. We have a line, because look, that's an x to the 1, between -5 and 0. We have a U-shaped curve on the right of 0. Okay, so I'm going to just start by looking and see if I can eliminate anything. On the right of 0, there should be a U shape up here. It can't be that one. It's not flipped upside down. Again, that's x squared. That's going to be positive. That's going to be turned up. Look at this one. Same problem. Your u should be up here unless you have a negative, and we just have x squared, so it's there. Can't be this one because the u shape is on the left-hand side, and according to our function, our u is to the right of 0. Look, the U shape is the square one. That's to the right of 0. And look, this one's on the left side. So in conclusion, this has to be the answer because look, there's a U shape on the right of 0. So there it is right there. Okay. Now let's confirm these two pieces as well and why they look like they do. Pull this down a little bit so you can see it. It'll let me. I don't think it's going to let me. Nope, it won't let me. All right, so briefly, it says if x is less than -5, it's always 0. So look, halfway between 0 and -10 is -5. That's right here. And look, everywhere over here is 0, right? On the x-axis, like this point would be -10, 0, -9, 0, -8, -7, -6, -5, 0. So all of these are 0. That part's right. -3x is a line with a negative slope. So look, here's your line between here and here with a negative slope. Now, I know that we haven't talked a lot about graphing any of these. When we get over into 1.6, which is the next section, I'll review with you more about graphing these things. But right now, just use little tidbits to help you use the process of elimination. And then we'll go back and we'll revisit this once we've had a little more experience with graphing. Some of you would have had this in Math 100 or in high school, but it's probably been a long time. Or even if it's just been a few weeks, you may have forgotten it. Okay. But in conclusion, this has to be our answer because the U shape was this is the only one where the U shape is on the right of 0. Now they're going to ask us for the range. Okay, we're going to go back to the graph for that. The range is where the y values are included. Now look at this half of the graph. If a graph has an arrow on the end or goes all the way to the grid, then you know that it keeps going forever. So look, this keeps going forever. That would mean that all of these y values are included. So this has the same range as the last one. No isolated values, but every value from 0 to infinity. Okay, number 16. Here we are asked to find the difference quotient, okay, the difference quotient of f. That is, we're going to evaluate this expression for the given function. F of x plus h minus f of x divided by h, and of course we have to assume that h is not 0 because that would make a 0 denominator and division by 0 is not allowed. They give us a function and they want us to evaluate this. All right, so I'm going to switch over to paint here. This little rule right here that you see, this f of x plus h minus f of x over h is an expression that helps us find what we call the rate of change of a function. How is something changing, okay? Like, for example, in business, we want to know how is our profit changing or how are our costs changing? This formula helps us to do it. It's a little bit more complicated than this formula, but you have to be able to do this in order to find the actual, use the actual formula for that. So this is the basis of all calculus. And so it's important that you can do it even if you don't take calculus, because it's, first of all, it's not hard. Here's what we're supposed to do. Take our function and insert the letters x plus h every time we see an x. Now look, here's my original function, negative 5x plus 2. So instead of the x, I just put these empty parentheses, right? And then in there, I'm going to put x plus h. And voila, you've done the entire numerator. Now you got to simplify it. And usually the simplifying is the hard part. Not so much for this one. We're going to distribute negative 5 times x, negative 5 times h, negative and positive make a negative, or you can just write a minus, and plus 2. We're completely done with the f of x plus h. Now from that, notice what this says. Subtract away everything that was in the original function. So let's see, my original function, negative 5x plus 2, and I have to subtract this whole thing. Well, look what happens. Now we're doing the minus f of x part. This negative and a negative make a positive. This negative and this positive make a negative. And you know, all that does is this. Cancels that out and it cancels that out. So that's what this means. The second half of the formula means once you do this part, take away everything that you see that's in the original function. So I didn't even have to write this. I could just say, I got to get rid of that and I got to get rid of that. Right? Now, what's left? I'm going to bring it down. The only thing I have left is a negative 5h. Right? But look at the formula. There's a division by h. So I'm going to put a divide by h here. So I got to divide by h. And guess what? Negative 5. That's my answer. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. When you have a line, y equals mx plus b, this slope right here tells you how you change. Let's go up and look. Look, this is a line right here. What's the slope of that line? It's negative 5. That's why I got negative 5. Now, That only works if this is a line. If your original function's a line, you can just look at the slope and you've got the answer. But they're not always lines. And you need to practice this process. Okay. So let me show you how to write it out formally. All right. F of x plus h minus f of x over h. Okay. So we just did it informally. I just plugged in the x plus h, and then I said, let's get rid of the f of x, let's divide by h. But let's do it algebraically a little more formally. -5 times x plus h plus 2. That's what we did first. Subtract, and here's the part that a lot of people miss. You need those parentheses. -5x plus 2. All of that is over h. Okay. Now, if you have a major that has you going on into calculus, your calculus teacher is going to love you if you can do this. If you're not going on to calculus, you can do it the way I just did it a minute ago. It's a lot less formal. So I'm going to show you both each time. And if you know you want to be a business major or a STEM major and you're going to have to take calculus, you need to learn how to do it and practice doing it this formal way. I'll show you both ways every time. -5x minus 5h plus 2 plus 5x, because look, I'm distributing this minus 2 divided by h. Now, remember what we did a minute ago? We said the originals are going to cancel out. There we go. Those are all canceled out now. And I'm left with, we should be putting equals here. This is for you future calculus students. Make your calculus teacher happy. -5h, and it might be me if it's business calculus, so learn to do this. -5h over h is -5. Same answer. Okay, so our answer here is -5. Now, can you be slick and say, oh, that's a line, it's -5? Yes, you can on the lines, but that's the only kind. So let's see if we get one that's not a line. Uh-oh, not a line. See, this is an x squared. That's that U shape we were talking about. It's a parabola. So we got to do it the formal way. Okay. In other words, I can't say that the rate of change is 5. I'll miss it if I do that. In fact, it's 10x is what the answer is going to be here. And maybe 10x with some h's in it. So let's watch and see. Okay. So first thing I do is I write my formula down. F of x plus h minus f of x over h. Calculus students of the future, whether it's business calculus or science calculus, you'll have to memorize this. Okay, I'll give it to you on the test for 112. But for those of you who are going on, you should think about memorizing it because it's very important later. I've got to do, and over here I'm going to write my little function, 5, f of x is 5x squared. So I'm going to do it the informal way first. I'm going to do f of x plus h. That's 5 times x plus h squared. Okay. Now, here's where half of students usually miss it because they want to just say, oh, that's x squared plus h squared, but it's not. This is x plus h times x plus h. So that's 5, full rule it, x squared, xh plus h squared. Okay, let's keep going. 5's got to be distributed. 5x squared plus 5xh. I could have added those before, but I forgot. 5xh plus 5h squared. And now I am going to combine my like terms. 5x squared plus 10xh plus 5h squared. All right, now I'm supposed to go and I'm supposed to take away. Remember, look, this part right here says, hey guys, take away everything that was in the original function. Well, the original function only had a 5x squared, so go in here and I say, I'm going to take away everything that's in f of x. Well, guess what? That's the only thing that was in f of x. So I'm left with 10xh plus 5h squared But then I have to divide everything by h. So I put an h under here and an h under here. And I get 10x, right? Because those h's cancel out. And then plus 5h. 10x plus 5h. Let me write that a little bit cleaner. 10x plus 5h is my answer. Now, remember, I told you it was going to be 10x with a little bit of maybe some h's left in there, and that's exactly what we got. We have to write the whole thing here. 10x plus 5h. 10x plus 5h. Great. Okay. Now, let's go back and do it formally. So let me get a nice clean board here. I'm going to do this formally. So here's the formal method for you future scientists, engineers, and business majors. Going to take, this is not the one we're doing. Hold on. Let me go back to the last one. Yeah. I'm going to take calculus in the future. So here's the nice clean way. And some of you who are just good math students who like doing things very formally, you may want to do it this way as well. Okay. All right. So I have to do 5x plus h squared minus 5x squared divided by h. And just remembering from what we did a minute ago, x squared, 2xh. I forgot, remember I wrote xh plus xh. Well, that's 2xh's plus h squared minus 5x squared over h. Keep going. Same process, just written out differently. 5 times x squared. 5 times 2 is 10xh. 5 times h squared. Subtract the original 5x squared. Divided by h. All right. And I'm going to finish this guy off by canceling those out, which is what we did in the informal way. 10xh plus 5h squared divided by h. Now, don't cancel out those h's right there because you got to remember this h belongs to both sides. So 10xh over h plus 5h squared over h. And now h divided by h is 1. I can cancel it out. And look, this is h times h. So that's going to cancel and leave a single h. And we get 10x plus 5h, using sort of a more formal presentation to do that. Very, very important that if you're going on into more math, either calculus for business majors or for STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, that you can do it this nice formal way. Okay, so practice it if you're a STEM major. If not, you can do it the shortcut way. All right, now let's do the next one. Okay, this time we'll start out with the formal way, and then we'll do it the sort of faster way. So here we go. F of x is x squared minus 6x plus 7. And we've got to do f of x plus h. This is how you memorize that formula. You write down every single time you do it. Subtract f of x over h. Excuse me. So for f of x plus h, that's going to be, look, here's my x. X is here and x here. So it's getting longer than before. I should put an equal right there. X plus h squared. That's this one. Minus 6 times x plus h. That's this one. Don't forget, plus 7, right? Now we're ready to do this part. Minus, and I'm going to put it in parentheses, x squared minus 6x plus 7. Okay, all of that has to be over h. Now, I have this memorized. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared. So anytime you have an x squared in any function and you're doing this different quotient, you're going to have to do this. And remember, it came from x plus h times x plus h using the for rule. So use the for rule or memorize it, which is even better. Minus 6x minus 6h plus 7. Now I've got to minus all of these. Minus x squared plus 6x minus 7. And all of that is over h. Now, the formal way, we're going to get rid of things that are opposites. X squared minus 6x plus 6x plus 7 minus 7. Now, here's a fast way to do this, even if you're doing it formally. Every term that's left has to have an h in it. See how those all have h's? Okay, so they'll all have h. Just rewrite the ones that have the h's. Okay, as long as you multiplied it out right, that's another way to look at it. Now this h belongs to all three, so formally, make our calculus teachers happy. 2xh over h plus h squared over h minus 6h over h. And we're just going to do simple division. H into h goes one time, cancels out. H into h squared goes h times. Remember, h squared is h times h divided by h. Only one of them cancels out. Okay, so that's h there. And then, of course, they both cancel out here. So my final answer, 2x plus 2h minus 6. So let's check it. 2x plus 2h minus 6. Let me double check that, make sure it's right. Uh-oh. All right, perfect example, because I'm not going to remake this video, and I don't have any way to edit it today. This is case in point, what you do when you miss something on MyMathLab. You could pay attention to what it says. By the way, you have 3 times to get it wrong before it marks it wrong. Now, I've checked it twice. I only have one chance left. And look, this tells me exactly what we already did. So that's not going to be helpful. Sometimes it is, though. Oh, it's not 2h. I already figured out what I did wrong. I just read it wrong. Look, that's h squared. And that h canceled out. We had just an h left. So let me fix that. But again, this is a great example of how MyMathLab is forgiving when you're doing homework. If you make a mistake, you got a couple of chances to go back and analyze what you did wrong, because analyzing what you did wrong will help you to do better on the test. At that point, you could have also looked at an example. Look, just follow that example through, right? See, they do it the formal way, so that's great. You get to see the formal way. Okay, let's check it again and see if I caught my mistake. Yay, I caught it. You see, use the software as a tool to help you learn. Okay. All right. Now, I promised I would do it both ways. So let's look at what I consider the shortcut way. You can rest assured that this is going to make your calculus teacher unhappy. So you don't have to say, I taught you this. You do the formal way and you say, look, I can do this the formal way. Miss House taught me. Okay, so here we go. Go back to the same one. We already know the answer. F of x is x squared minus 6x plus 7. I'm supposed to do f of x plus h minus everything that was in f of x divided by h. So the only hard part is the f of x plus h, period. That's the only hard part. I have to do f of x plus h is x plus h squared minus 6 times x plus h plus 7. Now, that's the easy part, getting the x plus h instead of that x and instead of that x. Okay? Now, memorize x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Okay? Then this is going to get distributed, minus 6x minus 6h plus 7. Now, the first time, nothing is going to add together. It just won't do it. If your original polynomial or function is simplified, there won't be any simplifying down here once you put in the x plus h. Okay, so what do? We do this part, the second part. It says get rid of everything that was in the original f of x. So there was an x squared in there, and there was a minus 6 in there, and there was a 7 in there. And look, everything that's left has an h. That means I did it right. Okay, we got rid of f of x. And we have 6h plus h squared minus 6h, and we're going to take an h out of all of them. So I've got a 2x, because this h spat out, plus h. Don't forget, this goes to all three, minus 6. 2x plus h minus 6. Look, that's the answer right there. Okay? Again, I will give you the formula. You plug in the x plus h. You memorize x plus h squared. And I know that it is hard to memorize, but think about how you memorize the last of your favorite songs. The first time you heard a song and you loved it, what did you do? You played it and you played it and you sang 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 it and you played it. That's how you memorize math. You do it over and over and over and over. Just write x squared plus 2xh plus h squared on a piece of paper 100 times. Turn it over and write it 100 more times and you'll have it. It's that simple. Okay? It's just getting it into your long-term memory. 2x plus h, 2x plus h minus 6. We did it the formal way, and then we did it the informal way for the non-calculus students. Oh boy, then they give us a really tough one. Okay, so we've got a negative in front of our x squared also. All right. Let's do it the informal way first, and then we'll go back and we'll do it the formal way. So f of x plus h minus f of x over h will equal negative 2x plus h squared plus 4x plus h plus 3 minus, in parentheses, negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 3. All of that is over h. Negative 2, memorize, x squared plus 2xh plus h squared, right? Look, we haven't multiplied the negative 2 yet. This one has an extra step. Plus 4x plus 4h plus 3, and then change the sign, change the sign, change the sign. So that's going to give me plus 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. All of that's over h. Don't forget, we got to have that guy in there. This is the formal way. Got to distribute this negative 2. Negative 2x squared minus 4xh minus 2h squared plus 4x plus 4h plus 3 plus 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. How about you guys? You exhausted? It's all right. We can do this. All right, I'm going to find all these opposites. Negative 2x squared, positive 2x squared. Positive 4x, negative 4x. plus 3 minus 3. Everything that's left has an h. Negative 4x h minus 2h squared plus 4h divided by h. We did it. All we have to do now is go negative 4x, because that h is going in there, it's going in there, it's going in there. It's reducing them all down by 1. So if there's only 1, it's going to be gone. But if there's 2, there's going to be 1 left. And if there's only 1, it's going to be gone. Our answer is negative 4x minus 2h plus 4. Let's see if we got it right. Now remember, we got it wrong. We're going to go back and we're going to figure out what we did wrong. Here we go. Negative 4x minus 2h plus 4. We got it right. Okay. Now, before we do that last one, which is much easier, let's do this one the informal way. All right. This is for my non-business, non-STEM majors. Nursing majors, you usually don't have to take calculus, so you probably can get by with doing it sort of this non-formal way. Okay. The first thing we have to do is f of x plus 8. I'm going to take my original function, 2x plus h squared plus 4x plus h plus 3. And by the way, the informal way is the same mathematics as the formal way. It's just the way we write it down. Okay. It's not as fancy. It's not as mathy. And that's okay if you're not a math major. If you're a math, STEM, computer science, engineering, business, all I'm going to have to learn to do this the formal way. So, negative 2 that I've memorized, x squared plus 2xh plus h squared plus 4x plus 4h plus 3. Distribute, distribute. Okay? Memorize x plus h squared. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Say it with me. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared. X squared plus 2xh plus h squared. I used to couldn't say it before I had COVID. Yeah, I got a little brain fog. That's all I can say. All right, negative 2x squared. We're doing it the informal way, but we still have to multiply. Minus 4x minus 2x squared plus 4x plus 4h plus 3. That's the informal way. We just did the x plus h evaluation. We plug in the x plus h every time we see an x, and we do all the algebra. Okay. So this is the calculus part is this formula, and it's in the math 112 is the formula. That's easy. It's the algebra that will catch you every time. So be careful. Now you remember what we're supposed to do according to this formula. We're supposed to get rid of everything that was in the original. Everything left will have an H, right? So if I get rid of the original, that was not the original. Look, I missed it. There it is right there. There's my COVID brain. H squared plus 2xh plus h squared. So look, I'm going to do it again. X plus h squared is x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. That is exactly the same kind of mistake that you will make. Okay, so you got to be careful. It'll be a lot harder for you to catch your mistake than it is for me to catch mine. So you got to do it right the first time. X plus h squared, x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Now negative 2 through there. We'll do it more. Negative 2x squared minus 4xh minus 2h squared plus 4x plus 4h plus 3. Okay. Now everything that has an h is what will be left because negative 2x squared was in the original, 4x was in the original, and 3 was in the original. And this time I got it right. Negative 4x8 minus 2h squared plus 4h. All of that is over h. Every term has to be reduced down by h. So take This one has one H, it's going to go away. This one has two, it's going to have one left. This one only has one, it's going to have no H's left. Negative 4x minus 2H plus 4. Much, much more informal. Same mathematics, just not written out the same. Just take your time, okay? If you rush yourself because you've waited to the last minute, then it's going to be harder. Just remember that math is all about the details, right? And the details are important, okay? So take your time. If you make a mistake, the time to do it is in a homework. You can do it over and over and over, right? Each problem. On a quiz, you got to really check because you got to do the whole quiz over if you miss it on the quiz and you're trying to get it right. All right, we got one left, and it's an easy one. Why is it easy? Well, do you see that it has no H's in it? So f of x plus h is still negative 6 because there's nowhere to put the x plus h because there's no h. If I take away the original function, I don't have anything left. 0 over h equals 0, right? Remember what I said? It's about how things change. Negative 6 doesn't change. Negative 6 is negative 6. It's 6 in the hole. It's 6 down, 6 to the left, $6 out of your bank account, lost $6 bill, all of that. Okay, it's minus 6. That's it. It doesn't change. It's always a minus 6. So if it can't change, then its change is 0, and this formula is for the change, and it doesn't change. Now that was informal. Okay, formally, f of x plus h equals negative 6. Subtract the original function, negative 6 divided by h. Negative 6 plus 6 divided by h. 0 over h is 0. Okay. If there is nowhere to put an x plus h because there's no x, then it's going to just be negative 6. You don't really say it's 0 at first. It's only 0 because of this difference. Okay. But this is one that you could just generalize. If you have a constant function, there's no variable, this is always going to be 0. Why? Because like we said, negative 6 never changes. You can depend on negative 6. It just be negative 6 every single time. Okay, so that wraps it up for the rest of the problems. I will be in touch soon. You know that there is a Ask My Instructor button at the bottom if you're stuck on something. If you're working on one of these and you can't figure out what you did wrong, send me what you did as either on the Ask My Instructor or my phone number. I'm not going to give it out because this is on YouTube, and every cuckoo head in the country will be sending me a text message. So, but my class knows what my text is, and you can send me a text, and I will help you anytime. Send it anytime you want, and if it's late at night, sometimes I answer and sometimes I don't. I'll get to you the next morning. All righty. Y'all have a good one, and I will be in touch.